Hey everyone, so I know I said I was going to be posting videos every day, and if you've been following, you've probably noticed that I haven't posted a video since November the 25th, which is the day before my daughter's birthday, and it's also the same night that I became suicidal. I had to get my husband to pretty much babysit me like a child most of the night because I was like hiding shit around the house, and I remember at one point he went and lied down for a while, and I just had I just felt like I was in a trance kind of all day, and I kind of came out of it at one point, and I was cutting my arm, so I immediately freaked out, and when I woke up my husband, I was like, look, been off my meds for too long, and just a combination of things happening. It was just way too much for me to handle, and I've never hit that kind of bottom before in my life. I'm 25 years old, and I've never had to check myself into any sort of mental facility for suicide attempts or watches or anything like that before, but this time was completely different. And I wanted to go that night, and then I realized the next day was my daughter's birthday. Second birthday. And I just wanted to be there in the morning to say happy birthday to her, you know, and to just be a mom. I'm sorry if I'm not showing the emotion that I should be right now, because I'm on new medication that is working better than I ever imagined. I actually find it hard to cry or get angry now, so obviously I'm doing something right. Basically, I'm just doing this video as a general overview of basically what happened, and tomorrow I think I'm gonna go a little bit deeper into more of my experiences, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna break it down by day or not yet, because when you're in a place like that, the days, they just seem like they're blending together. And there's not a lot of structure other than group therapy sessions, and they don't have those on the weekend, and I checked myself in on a Friday. So basically all weekend there is no doctors, there's just nurses, and there's no group therapy or structured therapy sessions or any sort of constructive learning at all. It was not what I expected it to be. If I'd known what I was signing myself up for, I probably would have found a much better place to go. But it's kind of late once you're there and the doors close behind you, because the way that it works is you are on a 3-day hold no matter what, even if you're voluntary like I was. And then you can get surprises like what my doctor did to me while I was there, and just throw papers at you that says you're still a danger to yourself, even though he can't prove anything. and he can renew your stay for up to 2 weeks, and he can do that as many times as he likes or feels he needs to. So basically, like, the whole voluntary status is bullshit, and they just make it seem like you can, you know, leave when you want, but in reality, you can't. The minute the doors close behind you, you're pretty much fucked. And I started realizing that, like, the very first night I was there. I started noticing how much of a joke this fucking facility was the first night I was there. Before I was escorted by 2 security guards to the mental health wing, they basically took, like, everything that I had on me, and I was put into, like, these blue pastel hospital scrubs, and all of my possessions went into a clear plastic bag that I handed over to a nurse, like, the minute that I got there. So basically, you walk in with not even the clothes on your back. You walk in with nothing. They take everything from you. And in the middle of the night, on the first night, I got woken up by one of the nurses because they were so fucking incompetent that they forgot to take my shoelaces. Or even my shoes, for that matter. But the more important thing was the shoelaces. So she literally woke me up in the middle of the night to take my shoes from me. And I was like in a daze because it was the middle of the night, so I kind of just brushed it off. Next morning, the morning comes, and I'm, like, you know, reality's starting to sink in where I am, and I just wanted to get on, like, the right medication and go home. That was my whole goal for checking myself into the hospital. Make sure that you don't hurt yourself, get on the right medication, get back home to your family. That was my thought process. Wake up in the morning and it was freezing in there, and I remember asking the nurse if I could have my clothes because I was freezing in these, like, thin-ass hospital scrubs. And she was like, yeah, no problem, and, like, acted like she was, like, gonna go and get my clothes. So I just kind of, like, laid in bed and waited for her to come back, and I don't even know how long I waited, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, and not being on medication at that time, being in a weird place, not having any of my possessions, I just, like, bipolar snapped and went into mania mode and, like, beeline to the nurse's station. I was pretty much like, what the fuck, where the hell are my clothes? Like, you told me you were gonna give me my clothes, I just want my clothes. Then another nurse tells me the real truth, that there is a rule that you don't get access to any of your possessions for 24 hours after you arrive in the mental health wing. So I, like, flipped the fuck out because, like, if you had just told me the truth from the get-go, I probably would have still been upset, but I wouldn't have, like, flipped out like I did. And I remember being very angry, and I went and called my husband, and I was like, this place is a fucking joke. They won't even give me my clothes. I just want something to make me feel human. They're supposed to be helping me, and they're making me feel even shittier. My husband was like trying to calm me down on the phone, and I don't even remember what he said to me, but he like said something that just pushed me even further over the edge, and I remember I like dropped down on the floor and just started crying, and my nurse came over and like took the phone from me and told my husband that I would be calling him back, I guess, or whatever he said. I don't even clearly remember. While I was standing there freaking out, though, on the phone, there was this young girl who came over and gave me a tissue and like a cup of water. And I smiled at her because normally, you know, when you're in those like mania modes, people just like avoid you. And it was like a totally different reaction. It was like she knew that I just needed a little pick-me-up, and just giving me a tissue and a cup of water just made me feel a little bit better. So I ended up having the phone taken away from me by the nurse, and I like rushed back to my room and like laid on my bed and cried for a while. And my nurse that day that was assigned to me came in, and he basically told me that that I really needed to calm down, or I was going to be locked into the next level up ward, and he really didn't want to see me go there. So he was really nice, and he just like talked to me for over an hour until I don't know, I felt like I vented everything out, and I just like ended up crying myself to sleep. And a little bit later, I finally got to see the psychologist, the therapist, or whatever the fuck he is. I don't really care what his label is. I called him Dr. Asshole because that's exactly what he was. He basically sat down and told me that he thinks that I don't have bipolar, that I have more than likely been misdiagnosed, and that I have a mild mood disorder with depressive tendencies. That shit just sent me right the fuck over the edge. And I was just like, pretty much like, are you living in my fucking body? Like, do you feel what I feel on a daily basis? Do you know what I'm struggling with? Do you have the racing thoughts? Do you feel the mania? Do you feel the anger? Do you feel the depression? Do you feel the roller coaster effect? Do you feel the jumping from the highs to the lows? And he was like, oh, why are you getting so upset? And blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I came here and checked myself in on suicide watch, and the first thing that I get from this staff of people is, you're not sick, or your illness is minor. And I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me, pretty much. Like, what the hell have I just done to myself? I've just locked myself into hell with people who don't really even want to fucking help me. So he was, it seemed like he was like trying to push me, like trying to say the wrong things to me to just make me even more agitated. And I eventually just got to the point where I was like so flustered that I was like holding the windowsill and just like rocking myself back and forth, like just trying to calm myself down and trying to like remain calm and not fucking like strangle this doctor. And he asked me why I was getting so upset, and I was like, I'm getting so upset because I have been diagnosed bipolar for years, and I have been struggling with it for years. Every medication that I have taken since I have been diagnosed has been for bipolar. It's like he was telling me that I didn't have what I had, and I was getting upset about it because it was almost like a slap in the face, like him telling me, like, you need to take responsibility for your own actions, when bipolar is an illness. Like, there are times that I really cannot control my emotions or my feelings or the things that I say. They just come out so viscerally and so emotionally and so intensely sometimes, and there's nothing I can do about it. So for him to say or imply that I had control over that, it was almost like he was just like shoveling on the guilt, you know, like, oh, you should just, you know, accept that this is all your fault. And I was just having none of that. And I was like, you know what? If you're not going to take me seriously and you're not going to listen to me, there's the fucking door. Just leave me the fuck alone. Get the hell out of my room. And he basically told me in a nice condescending tone, obviously you're not ready to listen, so I'm going to come back when you're ready to listen. You just like sat there and like wouldn't even listen to me. You're talking over me and telling me all about me when you just fucking met me. And it just enraged me. So my nurse talked me down, thank God, or I would have ended up in the next section up, where you're even in a smaller ward. It's only like 6 rooms over there for patients, 1 small nurse's station, and you have like no privileges at all. You don't get clothing privileges. You don't get to even like be in the general population with the rest of the patients. And yeah, I really, really did not want to go over there. So as much as I was enraged, I took everything I had in me to calm myself down to a point where the nurses and everyone felt secure enough that that I wasn't a danger to the other patients. It was just like maddening, really. And later on that day, I still hadn't heard anything from the doctor, but I had got a chance to talk to some of the patients, and they kind of told me like similar experiences with doctors, and how a lot of people around this place don't like to listen, and they like to give you these looks like you're crazy, and you know, and I was just like, what the hell have I signed myself up for, you know? Hospital food sucks. I was already, you know, having problems eating, but I didn't want to make myself look any less normal than I already was, so I forced myself to eat every single nasty meal that they rolled into the place. And I just continued to try and keep myself under control. Visiting hours are 2 hours a day, between 6 and 8. I was told when I checked in that it would be okay for my husband to bring my 2-year-old daughter to come and visit. So that day my husband brought my daughter to visit, and we got to be in like a little locked interview room for 2 hours together. And while I'm having my 2-hour visiting session that I only get once a day, the doctor decides that that's a good time, that I might be willing to listen now. And he pulls me out of my visit. to basically talk to me in a more condescending nature. And by this time I had some time to think about everything he had said and everything that had happened that morning. So I was a little bit calmer, but I was very defensive with him. And he basically, like, did, like, a 180, like, completely changed his tune, like, saying, like, oh, I never said that you didn't have bipolar. And, he tried to, like, make it seem like he had said, like, you know, the mild mood disorder. He's like, when I said mood disorder, you know that bipolar is a mood disorder. And, you know, he just tried to make me feel like I was completely fucking crazy, and that the whole conversation that we had had that morning had basically been in my head, or I had made up things that he had said in my head. And he even asked me if I often had these delusional conversations, or had these delusional perspectives. And it took everything I had not to just snap on him right then and there again. But having my kid in the next room, I was like, no, he's not taking this away from me. And I knew, like, right then and there in that moment exactly what he was trying to do. And I was like, I'm not playing your fucking game. I see it clearly now, and I'm not playing. So that was maybe 8 hours after I arrived. 8 hours after waking up my first morning there. And I was already feeling like this was the biggest fucking mistake I have ever made in my life. So while we're having this little meeting together, he throws me a new order. It basically says that he thinks I'm a danger to myself still, and that he is renewing my stay for another 2 weeks. And I just, like, I felt my heart sank into my fucking stomach. I was like, I cannot even picture being away from home for 2 weeks, away from my kid, not waking up in the morning with her, being away from my husband for that long. And I just realized that he was trying to get an emotional response out of me. And I was just like, okay, I understand. And he said that he would come back later and that we would discuss, like, potential medication options. So I went back and had my visit with my husband and my mother-in-law and my daughter. Basically told them exactly what had just happened. And at first I felt like they thought I was, like, making everything up, or they weren't taking it as seriously as I felt they should be. And it really hurt me on the first day. It completely crushed my spirit. It was really hard to say goodbye on the first day, just to see them walk through those doors and you not be able to go with them. I just wanted to go home so bad after that. I just realized that this was, like, such a horrible idea. And I was like, what the hell have I done? Now I'm stuck here in this fucking hell for 2 weeks. Every day after that was just fucking torture. There's, like, no constructive therapy sessions or, you know, group therapy. There's there's no, like, the only thing that's planned is your meals, basically. Like, you're up at 7:30, you eat at 8 o'clock. They don't even keep track of what you eat, which was completely fucked up to me, because I came in telling them that for over a year I've only been eating, you know, one heavy meal a day, or sometimes less than that. So you would think, admitting that to them, that they would, you know, care enough to at least pay attention to how much I was eating on a daily basis. And, you know, they would roll in this cart and it would have, like, your name on it with your tray and your food on it, and you would just pick up your tray, go over to, like, the hot food station, and they'd plop a sandwich and soup on, or whatever the fuck they were serving that day. They would just take the slip with your name on it and put it in a pile on the table, and when you were done with your tray, they wouldn't put, like, the slips with your names back on the tray. So, like, I don't understand how they even knew if any of us were even fucking eating. Like, for all they knew, we were scraping it off into the garbage, and, you know, like, it was just ridiculous. And, thank God I had a roommate that was, like, so caring and nice to me, because if I didn't have her support in certain parts of the whole experience, I think I would have completely broken down. And there were also times that they have free phones in the hallway, so there were, like, you can call whoever you want throughout the day. And there were times that I called my bipolar brother, because he's had mental hospital experiences. So I called him to, like, vent my frustrations about what the hell was going on in this place, and to get advice from him, like, what the hell do I do here? Like, I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And he basically told me in so many words, he's like, you know, if you think that this place isn't going to help you, then you just need to do what they ask of you and get the fuck out. But he's like, if you think that there is any chance that you can get on the right medication while you're there, then he's like, if you feel the need to show them your true colors and completely fucking mania out, then do it. Like, because if that's what it takes for them to take you seriously, then do it. And I thought about it for a long time, and I was like, I just can't do that, because if I do that, then I'm gonna lose, like, all visitation privileges. And that was, like, the only thing that was, like, keeping me together at that point, was, like, knowing that every day at least I got to see my husband. And I couldn't allow myself to have that privilege taken away. So eventually the doctor asshole, came back to talk to me again, and he tried to push lithium on me, and I basically told him that